Welcome to Multiple Offers, a real estate show with competing perspectives. Today we are talking about the pros and cons of buying pre-sales.
Put that coffee down.
If you're good at something, never do it for free.
How'd you get the gig? Oh, they were hiring. It was only a 2-week course.
I will sell this house today.
What are you, some kind of real estate agent?
Oh, he's a realtor. There is a difference somehow.
This is Multiple Offers, a real estate show.
All right, guys, it is episode 17. How you guys doing?
Fantastic, Jeff.
I'm wonderful as well.
Ooh, mystery voice.
Yeah, if the listeners are wondering, Jeremy is not sounding extra feminine today. We have a special guest today. We have Courtenay Edwardes. Is that actually your last name, or are we just making...
No, that's just my
Edwardes,
fault,
right?
That's totally my fault.
You always say that, and it's gotten to the point where I'm like, because it spells like that. Anyway, we have Courtenay Edwardes on. Courtenay is a realtor from our office at Remax Advantage. She's born and bred She's born and bred in New West. And today, because we're talking about pre-sales, we thought it'd be a good one to bring Courtenay on. She worked on the sales floor for 8 West, 258, and Brickstone Walk. Welcome to the show, Courtenay.
Oh, thank you very much for having me.
What's going on with you? You were a little late. Tell us about that.
I was a little bit late today. I was at...
Filling in Jeremy's shoes. Excellent.
Oh, I am usually not late, and wasn't really my fault. I was at an inspection that went a little bit too long, or just long enough. But longer than I thought.
Your buyer, your seller?
Buyer.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, when we were talking about it, I mean, it's a good reason why it ran long. Old house, big house.
Old house, big house, new Westminster home, thorough inspector. So,
did they find scary stuff?
No, lots of little things, and then the drain tile question.
Ooh.
Yeah,
don't have enough data.
It's clay, so who knows, right?
Just expect the worst.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Mm-hmm. So I apologize for my tardiness.
That's cool. Happy to have you. Glad you were in town. I think you were out of town just leading into this week, right?
Yep.
You're away doing some holiday stuff?
Yep. On the island, visiting my dad, visiting my best friend.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I guess we should probably tell people Jeremy's away.
Maybe give
Jeremy's in a closet.
Yeah.
We just were tired of listening to his voice.
Oh man, you're gonna give him such a complex.
Perfect.
Jeremy's part of keeping our real estate license is we have to take a certain number of courses every couple of years, and Jeremy today is taking the really exciting legal update, I believe.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Thrilling.
Yeah, and I guess they've made it way harder. He was saying like there's a whole like homework you have to do beforehand.
Yes.
And it's all tied into all the craziness we've been talking about on the show for since the beginning, basically.
So lucky him, he's doing that course, and we get to have Courtenay.
We're having way more fun.
And it's exciting, so I hope our listeners are kind of keeping this in mind, and maybe if they like guest co-hosts, they can give us some feedback on that, and I can maybe go on vacation a few more recording days. And
Matt's just looking for outs.
Yeah, somebody want to take my seat? I'm still in the show title.
There you go.
Yeah.
What's going on with you, Matt?
You know what I've been noticing as we're coming to the end of August is I'm spending a lot of time planning with sellers.
Yeah, a lot of people are turning into, okay, let's plan for September mode.
Yeah.
For sure.
I mean, there's no new listings really on my radar for the next 2 weeks. Like nothing is going to get put live on MLS. It's get it ready. And probably the most complicated part of it is good news, bad news. Good news is we're going to have quite a few listings in September.
Yeah.
Bad news is how do I line them up perfectly?
Yeah.
So everybody gets, the absolute exceptional service. So, you're present at each one.
Right.
You want to do those open houses and be there, and you don't want to hand off to someone else.
Matt's just so busy with all of his listings.
You have to stagger them. You stagger.
Yeah, it hasn't happened in a while.
I thought you were going to say bad news. There's going to be a lot of listings
in
September because that can be tough for the sellers, right? A lot of competition. You got to stand out.
Absolutely, but I feel like I got the good ones.
Oh, of course.
Oh, you got the good one? Oh, you have the best listings?
Well, sometimes you get the ones that are super generic. You do. You get the generic stuff, right? These ones are not. One of them is in Brickstone Walk.
Ooh.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jeff, what about you, man? What's going on?
Well, I'm trying to survive the smog.
Ooh.
I don't even want to step outside. It is so gross out. I had a first yesterday, so we're negotiating an offer, and this agent She's really good, but she's out of town, and she's on like this big, gigantic hike.
Oh.
And she only gets cell reception like maybe a couple times a day. I can get a hold of her. And so the negotiation process is moving very, very slowly. And she texted me last night, and normally I can't get a hold of her again. So I'm thinking, I won't be able to get a hold of her till tomorrow. I talked to the seller, or my seller, about it. And then I blame the smog, but then I fell asleep.
Oh, dear.
I woke up this morning with a message from my seller being like, I kind of want to talk to you about this stuff. What's happening now? And to be fair, it's like 9:45. Like it's
close.
Oh,
yeah. I mean,
I don't work after 10.
It's earlier than I usually fall asleep, but I totally fell asleep. So I thought I'd win points back, and I thought it was safe this morning. I texted her at like 6 a.m. because I get up early, and I'm like, "Hey, just so you know, I can talk to you before you get work. We can get this ball rolling." And then she calls, and I was like, I wasn't ready for that. And we got it all worked out, and it's going very well. But I totally thought I was winning points back. Like, she won't be up yet. Then when she wakes up, she's going to see my text and be like, okay, he's on board. And she's just like, no, I've just been waiting to talk to you.
She's like, I actually haven't fallen asleep, so thanks for calling.
I've been waiting since
so
9:45.
You teased me with this information. I couldn't fall asleep. Yeah. And now here I am. And man, you get that rush of adrenaline in the, like, when you're like, shit, I'm on now.
Yeah.
Right? The phone rings and you're like, I'm answering this. I'm doing it.
Totally.
It's 6 a.m., but I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I think the real question here is, where was this realtor hiking? Kilimanjaro?
I don't know, but it was like a planned vacation. I feel bad for her because we've been talking about her writing the offer for like a week before she did. And she's like, I'm telling my buyer, like, I'm going away on this amazing holiday that she's got to make a decision. And then I get a call from her like day one of her holiday, and she's like, so I'm writing you an offer.
That's too bad.
That's how that goes usually.
Yeah. I mean, that's where you want somebody who you trust who can take over for you, right? Like, Jess, you've got Dad.
Yeah.
I got Jeremy. Courtney.
I called Christy Hayward.
Ooh, she's good. We should have Christy on the show sometime. She's fantastic.
Yeah, she's a good one. Yeah.
Huh.
Teaser.
Okay. Well, let's get into our main topic.
I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
I got a news flash for you, Walter Cronkite.
I am enlightened.
Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
This is Multiple Offers, a real estate show.
Okay, so I apologize. I jumped the gun. I was just really excited to see what Courtney has to say about pre-sales, but we actually have a bit of news to discuss.
Yeah, last week you bumped me from story time. You're just trying to bump my segment again?
I'm very passive-aggressive.
You want me out of the show, Jeff? So he gets Jeremy off the show and puts Courtney in. So next week is going to be Courtney and Christy, isn't it?
This is my big power play.
Yeah.
All right, news. Last week we talked about stats, and this is kind of related, but we're going to try to stay away from the numbers and talk about the concepts a little bit. But again, in the news, I like talking about it because the headlines do get the consumer's attention. And the headline reads, some realtors believe major price correction underway in Metro Vancouver. Ooh. So they're not just quoting stats now. Now they're quoting realtors.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the first sort of twist. I think that's some pretty good clickbait, gets people looking, right? They're quoting all Westside realtors.
Right.
Okay, so they're taking this from Westside of Vancouver, and what they got, so they got a couple of different things going on. One thing I want to mention is they got a quote from Ian Watt. I think a lot of us know Ian Watt.
Yep.
He's found his way into New West quite often. And he quotes Snap Stats as his source for information. And he says he likes looking at median sales value, and it's down 30%. The problem I have with that is, and I don't want to get too carried away with statistical analysis, but quoting median sales price is really dangerous in a place like the West Side, where the top end can be really, really expensive. Mm-hmm. Because the top end isn't selling right now. And
do you mean the West Side of New West?
No.
You mean the West Side of Vancouver?
West Side of Vancouver.
Okay.
Right? So the high end is very high.
Yeah.
Right? And correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, high end isn't really moving right now.
Very slow.
Right?
Yeah.
So you take away that segment of sales, so like subtract all the $10 million sales, the 8, the 6s, and those just aren't happening.
Yeah, it's funny that he quotes Snap Stats, because Snap Stats, when they break it down, I think they're an excellent tool too. Do you use Snap Stats, Courtney?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're fantastic. But they take the time to break things down by price band.
And then it's helpful.
And then that's important, because what's going on in the $300,000 to $500,000 price range could be completely different than anything over $1.2 million.
Yeah. So my problem with this is, let's say all of the $6 million plus sales that happened last year aren't happening this year. Mm-hmm. But the average price of an average home is exactly the same. Now this is I'm just saying hypothetically, but if that were the case, the median would actually drop quite dramatically, even though the average home hasn't changed. So he's quoting a median drop of 30%, but that's not really related to what's going on. And they're discrediting the real estate board stats, saying, well, they use a price index and it's saying it's not down that much, but man, we're seeing some huge hits.
I never look at median price range averages when I'm pricing a home. I look at average days on market. I look on list price to sales price ratios, and I look at what percentage of the listings are selling every month.
Yeah.
Those are the stats I care about.
Mm-hmm.
What does this say to you, Miss Edwards?
Well, it's interesting because they don't typically have a realtor's perspective. When they said realtors are saying that price, you don't usually see that, right?
Absolutely. And it goes on. They quote 2 other realtors, and they start getting into their thoughts that they feel the market is going down. And they're not just trying to make predictions based on their territory there, Westside Vancouver, where they're working a lot. They're saying this is going to move east. And the quote that I have here that I think is probably the most relevant is from Stuart Bonner. He says, it's a warning sign. The west side is where the chain reaction starts. Detached, attached apartments on the west side are now all experiencing price reductions. And while this is creating good buying opportunities, buyers are holding off in anticipation of further declines. This will exacerbate the decline and soften prices further. But he's talking about how the declines right now on the west side, they're saying, well, okay, if people don't have this money, they're not going to go and give their kids a bunch of money to go buy something else. And then the money keeps moving east, goes to Burnaby, goes to Coquitlam, Maple Ridge, Pitt Meadows, whatever it is. So they're making some pretty bold statements that stretch beyond.
I take huge umbrage with that statement, actually. In my experience, every time the market has slowed down, like he's talking about a chain react, like dominoes, where prices fall in Vancouver and then they fall in Burnaby and then it hits New West and then it goes out further and further and further. That's not what I've seen in the past. What I've really seen in the past, whenever the market has corrected, is it's more like a wave. When prices go up in Vancouver, it pushes people out, and the people who can't afford Vancouver now buy Burnaby, who now buy, and we do see prices go up in that way. But just like a wave, it comes back in kind of the opposite way, because prices fall in the suburbs, in my opinion, usually before Metro Vancouver. Like it usually tends to slow down, and Vancouver gets hit kind of last.
We're talking Vancouver proper?
Yeah, I mean Vancouver versus Richmond, Burnaby versus each of the suburbs. Like it definitely doesn't go the other way, because there's way more buyers in the center of Vancouver.
So we're saying they want Vancouver proper. They got a budget of $600,000.
Yeah.
And that has now sent them to Burnaby, New West.
Yeah.
But if they can get something they like for $600 in Vancouver because prices drop.
Yeah.
They're going back for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't usually see it. Yeah. Like in 2008, it didn't slow down in Vancouver, and then months later it slowed down in the suburbs. In fact, I remember feeling it way more in the suburbs first.
What about the concept that they're saying that this freed up cash to give to their kids, family members, to make purchases? Do you think that has some credence to it, Courtney?
No.
Yes. No. Do you work with many people who you feel have money from like Bank of Mom and Dad?
No, not really.
No.
No.
Okay. So that would probably explain why you don't have much of an opinion on that statement.
Yeah, exactly. I don't feel I've. I mean, I do work with all ages. However, I don't feel that a lot of my younger buyers or first-time home buyers, maybe mom and dad help 10, 15, 20 grand or whatever just to get that down payment going. Mm-hmm. Or maybe they gift it to them or whatnot. I don't typically have buyers whose parents are buying.
Not like big money coming from mom and dad.
Yeah.
I think the people who are getting big money from mom and dad, and I do deal with a lot of people who that's part of the scenario. The way it could hurt the suburbs is some of those people are making the compromise. Like to them, buying in Port Moody
Right.
is I really want to buy in Vancouver, but I can't afford it, even with mom and dad's help. Those people might end up buying still in Vancouver, but I don't think the money is disappearing from mom and dad, just where they can afford to buy. I mean, if Vancouver falls enough, they're going to buy in Vancouver. Although at that point, prices will drop everywhere so much and we'll have a whole different set of buyers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting analysis. I mean, it's definitely contrary to what the news story says. I like what Courtney pointed out, that they're quoting realtors.
Or maybe I just work with poor people. Or
hang on, you just came from an inspection on a house. You said.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So all those poor people buying houses now.
Or okay, by poor maybe I mean hardworking individuals.
You're a champion of the people
who have saved their money to buy their own home.
Absolutely,
yeah, that's probably it.
Of course.
Okay, last question on the news. Our headlines, some realtors believe major price correction underway. Do you think headlines like this create a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy where the right people who hear it and want prices to go down allow themselves to really latch onto it, maybe too tightly?
There's a weird connection there. Like, again, 2008 was the biggest correction that's happened in my career. And there was this weird thing that happened where the market kind of leveled off. And back then, and I think this is still a little bit true, a lot of times the media is a little bit behind what's actually happening right now.
Typically.
And all the media came out about how the market was falling, but the market had kind of leveled off. And that did cause the market to fall again. Like, it does feed itself sometimes. Because consumer confidence is a huge, huge part of the equation.
Big time.
And they're always listening to the media, buyers. The bubble's going to burst. I think I've been hearing that my entire
Your entire career? Yeah, me too.
Oh, I'm waiting. And you know what? The people that waited and are still waiting and didn't buy 3 years ago, well, maybe you should have bought 3 years ago. But they do very much listen to the news and hold off because they're waiting for prices to drop. Whereas if you're going to buy something and it's a long-term investment, get into the market instead of watching it.
Good advice. And then that's why I brought this news article, because of the headline too, was that I think it really hits home with a lot of readers. So I think it's valuable to talk about it and speak to the rest of it. And we've talked about, Jeff, headlines versus news stories.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, half the time the person who writes the article didn't come up with the headline.
Yeah.
Can I cue up the main topic now, or should I be like, we're going into story time?
We're gonna do it in order. Let's go.
All right, main topic time.
Right shot. Now you want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts.
You decide your own level of involvement.
Well, I guess this is a case where we'll have to agree to disagree.
I don't agree to that.
Neither do I.
Wrong.
National debt.
Wrong.
Advocate.
Wrong. With that money, lost.
Very nice words, but happens to be wrong.
You're listening to Multiple Offers, a real estate show.
Okay, so for realsies this time, now we're going to talk about pre-sales. And Matt and I have both done our fair share of selling pre-sales, but obviously just from the buyer's end. Matt, I don't think you've ever worked directly for a developer.
I have not.
And I worked very briefly for Ani in 2008 when the market was crashing, and that was a nightmare. We could do a whole episode on that. But Courtney, you have a lot of experience dealing with pre-sales. So if we were going to talk about the advantages and the disadvantages of this, where should we start? What should buyers be thinking about when they're considering buying a pre-sale?
Well, I've worked on 3 new developments on the sales floor. So
all in New West.
All in New Westminster. I have spoken to thousands and thousands of buyers for sure. And
these were in the heydays when people were like beating down the doors.
No.
Right? No?
This was when, I started real estate in 2007. So I started in the down market.
Didn't 8 West have Insanity? My memories of 8 West.
Well, that doesn't mean the market was hot.
Exactly.
I meant beating down the doors of this, like the ones you did.
Oh, yeah. 8 West was insane. It was a 2-building project, and we thought we would sell 1 building. That was it. And then the demand was so high based on marketing and product and price and whatever all together.
Mostly price.
Yes.
And they advertised. Do you remember? They had starting at, but there was
no HST. That was it.
There was one like super tiny one they built. in the building, I feel like, so that they could advertise the starting at low prices.
It was like a $2.99
the lost leader,
or a
yeah.
$1.99.
Every development, I think, does that.
And no HST, very clever, because it was during like huge HST debates.
Right.
So,
yeah.
very topical. So that was cool. So you created a lot of demand.
And
there.
they were on the radio.
And am I allowed to say this? I feel that most developments actually work whatever their thing is to hook people in. They work that into the price. So
what?
It's true.
Courtney, you're blowing my mind.
I know.
See, me when I buy a new car and they give me a free TV.
Yeah.
That was just part of the price.
Yeah, you literally paid $300 more for that car.
Oh.
Yeah, there you go.
But free is free.
Free is free. It feels good.
Yeah.
Right? You feel like you got a deal.
Okay, so I'm a new buyer.
You are a new buyer.
I'm thinking about, like, do I buy a used home or something brand new? What are you telling me? What should I think about as somebody who was on the inside?
I think it's comfort level. I've met a lot of people that will not buy pre-sale because they can't see it, they can't touch it, and it's a lot of money. You put down, usually about 20% deposit within the first 6 months to a year of purchasing the pre-sale.
Which is much more, like, that's a lot.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And it takes average about 2 years to build a building. So depending on what the purchase price is, you are putting down a large deposit that is sitting there that you can't use for 2 years. So some people are not comfortable with that. Usually, from what I've noticed with new developments, typically when the building is being built, the prices end up going up. You buy a pre-sale, by the time it's built, it's actually worth a little bit more.
Yeah.
The risk, though, however, is what if the market drops? So you've purchased a home, you've put down $60,000 or whatever, just sitting there as a deposit, and then by the time it's built, it's actually worth less. And I haven't seen that personally, but...
In your experience, is there truth? Somebody once told me that, like 8 West, for example, when there's 2 phases... that the first phase is usually priced a little bit cheaper than the second phase because the developer needs to raise capital. Is that true in your experience?
I don't really know why. However, I always say if there is a master planned community, if there is a new development and there's going to be a few buildings, get in the first building.
You want to be first.
100%. Get into the first building. It is, from my experience, always the best price. And then, it just keeps going up.
Yeah, I mean, they want momentum.
Yeah.
They want cash.
Yeah.
Right? They need positive experiences to start them off.
Right. And then they want to put those stickers that people have bought them.
Yeah,
on the map.
Okay, that's my thing. That's my talking point.
Those aren't real either.
Okay. Ooh, yes. Okay. That's my thing. That's what I want to talk about.
Let's get into it. Matt's so excited. I've never seen him this excited.
The red dot.
Oh, the red dot.
I hate the red dot.
Yeah.
Okay.
So tell people what this is. We might be playing a little inside baseball here.
Okay. So I'm going to talk about it from my perspective, and then Courtney's gonna blow the doors off high expectations.
Yeah.
So my experience with the red dot, this is my thing. If we're talking like tips and traps for buyers when they walk into the sales center, because the sales center experience for a pre-sale is different than talking about pros and cons of like, I can't touch and feel it or whatever. But there's a real experience to going to a sales center.
It's pretty fun.
I think people are mostly scared. It's like walking onto a car dealership. So being a salesperson on the sales floor, I feel people are sort of nervous. They don't know where to walk. They typically head straight for the show suite. Just what do I do?
No eye contact. Don't talk to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Is it different? Like, so the experience you get from a buyer. Sorry to derail this. We'll come back to that in a second. But the experience you get from a buyer when they would walk into the sales center, is that significantly different than the where the buyer's at when they walk into like an open house, for example?
I think it might be the same. I feel as if, they are kind of a little uncomfortable. And of course, we're not in their shoes, so we don't know fully. But
a lot
it's
of them,
a little nerve-wracking.
I feel like they walk in the door thinking that the person on the other side of the desk expects them to buy something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which, puts pressure on them, right? So, I wore my red shirt today because we're talking about the red dots. I'm wearing my red Belgium shirt just to make sure that nobody forgets.
Okay, so let's hear it. So just for those who don't know, you walk into a sales center, there's a map.
Yeah, so they've got the map of the building, and they're showing which ones are available and which ones sold. And for some reason, it has become industry standard that when a unit is sold, they put a little red circle sticker over that unit to say,
available.
seats taken. right? But the game that I have experienced is when you come in and you talk about it for the first time, like, well, we've been here, we've looked at the floor plans, we've kind of got our pick, we've seen the prices, we're really interested in 303 over here. They're like, I'm really excited that you like 303. You know what I'm going to do? I know you need to think about it. I'm just going to put this red dot on 303. I'm going to say, that's yours. I'm holding this for you until tomorrow. Nobody else can buy this. You don't have to sign anything. It's okay. I'm your friend here at the sales center. I've put the red sticker on for you.
Yeah.
And then you go home and you're like, oh my God, did I just buy a condo? I kind of feel like I have to. There's a little bit of reciprocity here. You've done a big favor for me as a salesperson. You've saved this for me. I got to do something about it, right? And you're kind of like, oh, so well, it's mine. I mean,
it actually does a lot of things psychologically, right?
Like, it is crazy.
Like, it kind of creates urgency because without saying it to the buyer, they're subtly trying to communicate somebody else wants this. Like, I'm reserving this for you because you might lose it.
Right.
It also kind of commits a tiny little commitment.
Yeah,
right?
You feel a little bit more invested in it.
You're a little on the hook now.
Yeah. What else does it do, Courtney?
Well, I like to use yellow stickers.
Whole different game.
Yeah. Well, there's the red stickers. These are sold. Somebody's written an offer. Rescission period is over. This is sold. You cannot. It's gone. Sorry for your loss.
Take back. That's a good point. Let's make sure to come back and explain rescission period.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wrote that down.
Oh, that's on your list.
Yeah. I made notes.
You brought the expert.
Courtney prepared way more notes than Jeremy does. like not even joking.
I just wanted to be prepared. So then, you would put maybe a yellow sticker on it saying, okay, I'm going to hold this for you for 2 days. So it's still available. But if somebody else comes along, my language as a salesperson would be either, oh, there's an offer on this one, or that one is on hold for 2 days, or whatever color sticker you use. If you were to walk into a sales center and you saw the board with all the units and there were no stickers on them,
what's wrong with it?
What's wrong with this building? Why is nobody buying? So I can't speak on behalf of But come on, you might. I'm sure some people are checking up extra stickers here or there.
Sometimes you just want to play with stickers.
Yeah, sometimes, it's like a childhood memory. And so, you're right, Jeff. You know, they might want to create a little bit of urgency. People buy on the fear of loss. They buy on emotion. You know, if somebody else wants it or if it's almost not available, then it's like, oh gosh, okay, someone else wants it. Like, you know, maybe I will act on it. So that urgency is definitely a big thing for new developments, even with pre-sale too, right? If somebody's on your heels wanting it, you might act a little bit faster.
Big time. I mean, I think that's, and going like the yellow dot that you use to say on hold versus red dot, I do feel like saying to somebody like, I'm holding this for you, but I'm putting like the full commitment on. So if anybody else walks in the door, they think it's sold.
I got your back.
Yeah. Like, I'm really looking out for you.
Yeah.
And because again, it's to say to the buyer, like, no, I'm here to help you. I'm a facilitator. I'm on your side, buyer.
Yeah.
Who do you work for when you're in the sales center, Courtney?
I work for the sales and marketing company who works for the developer. And I do remember my language because people would be a little bit fearful of writing an offer, worried that they're trapped into something. And I would just say, write the offer. You have a 7-day rescission period. You have 7 days to talk to your mortgage broker, although you do need to get pre-approved just before completion. And you can read over the contract of purchase and sale. You can read over the developer's disclosure statement. You have 7 days to make a decision. And after that 7 days, that is when you put down the money. So if you're interested, if you're quite seriously interested, just write an offer. Hold the home. Yeah. No, once an offer is on it and you're in your rescission period time, nobody else can jump in and write it. You know, it's yours. You get to make the decision. And to your point as well, Jeff, once somebody has written and signed, now they feel a little bit more connected to the purchase because they've
taken a little baby step towards
pen to paper. Yeah. So that would be my advice. If you seriously like this home, just write an offer.
So
nobody else can take it.
Let's just explain rescission period before we get away from it, because this is something that's very different. And I think one of the advantages of buying new construction over a previously occupied home, and to be completely honest, I don't think there are a lot of advantages to going down this route. There's a lot of things we'll probably talk about that I don't like about doing it this way, but the rescission period is one thing I really do like. From the buyer's perspective, they can walk away for any reason. Yeah. Correct? So when you buy a house that's been lived in before, usually you write your specific reasons out. Like, I'm going to have a home inspection. Mm-hmm. I'm going to check to make sure I can get my mortgage. And you have to, if you collapse that deal, collapse it based on one of those subjects that you put in. In new development, does it just work that like it automatically you get rescission if you don't bring in the deposit in time? Is that how it goes? Or do you have to actually put in writing, I am not buying this home?
Good question. I mean, I guess everything's better in writing. When I was doing it, I was working in new developments probably about 5-6 years ago, and I worked in there for about 3 years. So people would literally just come back with their paperwork and say, I don't want it. And I was so floored that somebody can just write an offer and, within the 7 days get a hangnail and say, here, my finger hurts and I don't want to buy this home anymore. There's no financial recourse.
And that's totally valid.
Well, I'm not sure, but I was surprised. And I was like, man, people can just go around writing offers all day long and not going through with it. So
I just want to point out that you used the close. Hey, just write an offer. You can collapse it for any reason. and then you're like, these crazy people are collapsing it for any reason.
No. I said write an offer so nobody else can take the home while you're reading the documents and information. It's a good way to secure the home is to write an offer.
I do know, because I think we're getting into a little bit of the sales tactics of a sales center, right?
Yeah.
And they've been very effective over the years. And the whole point of the 7-day rescission period is it's law.
Yeah, they have to. That's not the sales center deciding.
No, it was mandated because it was like, look, these sales centers guys, they're pretty good at this.
Yeah.
They're getting people to sign for fear of missing out.
You guys are sharks.
Yeah.
I wore my shark socks today just to prepare for this.
So they're saying absolutely required. Are we getting confirmation on the shark socks?
Actually, he is wearing shark socks. It's true.
You guys didn't. I got no verbal confirmation. I'm wearing the red shirt, but
it is red.
Yeah. Matt's wearing a red shirt.
Definitely red.
They had to do it because there is so much pressure in the sales center that it's like, look, we have to make it mandated. And this was, a number of years ago when that was a thing that the public had an issue with, right? When it came to real estate sales, it was, well, this is the thing that the government needs to have intervention on. Well, the government has intervened in many different ways now in our real estate world, well beyond pre-sales. But that's why it's there, right? Because I do get caught up in the amazing marketing model, that different things that are done for different projects that make people feel literally that the person behind them is going to buy it. When we see physical lineups outside of a building, people getting, physically, riled up and upset because like, no, I came here to buy that unit and I'm going to get it. And the person behind me might buy it. So I'd better sign now. There's 1,000 people in the lineup and 120 units for sale. By the way, how many of those did you tell, you were reserving one for, or they were on the VIP list?
Oh gosh, there was a lot of interest. It was different because we had a sales day. So we had that board, but we weren't putting stickers on and off. Whereas, so that's the type of setup where it's a sales launch. When I sold Brickstone Walk, it was a tempo campaign. So you had the sales center, you kick open the doors, you say, this is available. That's when the stickers go up and down and people come in. It's very low pressure.
You were very low pressure. My favorite sales center person ever.
Oh, did I meet you there?
Did you guys do a deal?
We never did a deal, but we spoke at 8 West and we spoke at Brickstone.
Oh, you didn't put enough pressure on it.
No, it's because I'm like so against pre-sales. I was like, watch out for this one. She's a shark.
So sales launch day, I mean, gosh, there's so much interest and only so many units. So.
Yeah, because on 8 West, I know a lot of people at our office, because we're a New West office, got their clients on this list, right? You're going to be on the list. You can come in. You have the option to buy something. We're going to get you high up on the list, guys. We're going to get you high up on the list. We keep hearing that.
Get people so angry.
Yeah, so they think that, I've got like a guarantee. I get to come in. I'm number 21 on the waiting list, and there's 100 units. Of course, I'm going to get to buy one. But then it turns out that this list is all kind of false in the lineup and all the rest of it. And there's always more people there than there are units. And it's by design. So for buyers who are listening to this show and they're thinking, okay, I'm going to go to a pre-sales center and they're doing the pre-launch and I'm getting on a list and then I'm getting on the next list and I'm being told I'm going to get an opportunity. What do they really need to hear to feel that they have any kind of confidence, or how can they approach it when they're going into that big launch, hype machine?
I mean, it's changed a little bit since I was doing the pre-sales, since I was on the inside. Just introduce yourself to the salespeople, create a relationship, make sure they know you're there. Some people kind of fly under the radar and then you don't even know they're interested, right? So for me, if somebody came in 5-6 times, talked to me, emailed me, knew what they wanted, I would remember them. I would know they're serious. I can kind of help them more.
It's like getting a job when you're 17. Like, just call every day until they hire you.
So what if they're in this physical lineup and they're 80 people deep, but you do know it's that person? Like, how do you help facilitate that? Is there something you do? Is the lineup all a scam? Is it like the nightclub? Like, it's empty inside?
No. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know. I mean, you know what? It helps knowing the developer. That helps because...
Okay. Pro tip, know the developer.
Pro tip, go meet some developers. Because usually those are sold before the building even goes on sale, right?
That was one thing...
Inside people, relatives, homes are already purchased, right? So
I had a buyer for one of the units in 8 West, and we were on the list. We waited right at, we were ready to go. And we were just crushed that the one we wanted was totally sold to somebody before that even happened.
So we've talked about this, Courtney. Like, you broke a lot of hearts. I know it was kind of hard on you during some points of the pre-sales part, right? Like the people who you feel like you made a commitment to and then you couldn't fulfill. Yeah. Is that am I speaking out of turn, or is that?
No, that's why I'm back in residential real estate.
Well, why don't we? Because I think we're probably going to get into some of that stuff maybe a little bit later in the show. Why don't we save that for now? And also, one thing, I'm totally geeking out over this stuff. I find sales tactics fascinating, but I'm also in sales. So maybe if listeners want us to have Courtney back and really get into tactics of the sales center, maybe I could spend a whole episode talking about.
We're really going on and on here.
Yeah, so
for good reason.
Why don't we get into a little bit more buyer centric info? But if you want us to get into sales tactics, maybe we can convince Courtney to come back. Let us know at feedback@morealestateshow.com, and we'll go from there. But let's take it back to what buyers should be thinking about. One thing I really think about, and I'd love to hear your perspective, Courtney. I'm always very cautious with buyers about making sure they understand that there is risk when they buy new developments. I mean, we've seen some of the horror stories, like, which was the one in New West?
Oh, yeah.
Westbourne. Yeah. I mean, that one, they raised the prices 15% and before completion. And my understanding is people could take the deposit back plus 50% of what they put down and walk away, or just pay the 15% higher. But either way, the market had gone up. They can't buy what they bought before. And that's not the only one. Like, it happened in Vancouver as well. There was one in Oak Ridge. I had a buyer do one in Poco when I was first getting started, where the exact same thing happened. They were like, well, we can't complete, so you can either give us more money or get your deposit back. And
it's the biggest risk.
Yeah. And I think, we see the horror stories about that, but we also see, like, every new development I've sold in the last year has been at least 2 months late. Most of them much more. It seems like nobody's finishing anywhere close to on time. So if you've got plans around your move-in day, make sure you don't give notice just yet.
Yeah, typically they will give you time. I can't remember, 2 weeks, 10 days, or whatever that it is. You're getting close to completion, but there's so many variables: construction, permits, this, that, the other, right? So
when we did an episode a couple episodes back, Courtney, where our construction guy we were talking to was talking about how he can't hire any specialist guys because all the good guys are working.
Yeah, they're taken. Yeah,
and if they're not working, why aren't they working? Like, there are more jobs than there are. So what's the problem? Mm-hmm. So I guess that's happening. What from the inside, like, is it just thought of that the completion day is kind of a fictional date, or what? or is it actually like we really did think we could complete here?
Oh gosh, I would imagine that that's what they're striving towards. And then when you read,
it's a goal.
It's a goal. It is a solid goal, because you can't just say to a buyer, "Hey, thanks for your deposit. We'll let you know when it's done." Oh, okay. Well, is it ready in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years? Like, you need to put a date down there.
Yeah.
And then there is something in the developer's disclosure statement called an outside date. So if they don't hit that date, maybe it's 6 months or whatever. If they don't hit it within that amount of time, then and depending on how it's worded, a buyer might have an opportunity to walk away if they don't hit it by the outside date.
Yeah.
But to be fair, like you said, getting workers, are they buying material from overseas? Is there, there's so many things that could hold up a completion. And that's what I would tell buyers. This is what they're striving towards. Be prepared that new developments rarely complete on time.
When you brought up the contract too, and that's something I really warn people as far as risk goes, is that contract is designed to protect the developer.
It's only written for them.
Like, it's definitely to their advantage compared to the MLS contracts, which are very much written with both parties in mind.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about the 7-day rescission period. You write an offer, you take those 2 documents to your lawyer and have them reviewed by your lawyer to make sure you're protected as a consumer as well. And the big question I get is, what happens if it doesn't even complete?
Yeah.
What happens to my deposit? And if you read the developer's disclosure statement, there is always a part about the deposit. There is a little paragraph there. So what happens to your deposit? That's what I find most buyers are scared of. What happens if it doesn't complete?
I think most aren't scared. It seems like things they don't think about is like, it says right in the contract that this doesn't have to be exactly the same as the showroom. Yeah. And that might be the difference between, like, I had this year, laundry room, which was just a little bit smaller than the showroom version of it.
Yeah.
But that just a little bit smaller meant you couldn't put shelves up. To have like an actual laundry room. It was just room for the washer dryer, and there's nothing we can do about that. That contract says this might not be exactly what we showed you.
Yeah, and I think there's a percentage of square footage that they have to stay.
Yeah, there's a margin of error they can play with, right?
Yeah.
So that kind of goes hand in hand with what you said when we opened the segment, Courtney, right? Like, you can't touch and feel and see exactly what you're getting. So you're buying a promise of a drawing, that has the option to be modified.
Sometimes a promise isn't a promise.
Yeah.
And what happens if they can't get that countertop? Or what happens if, so they have to protect themselves as well.
Yeah, and we talked about this. I did it in a couple of my check-ins, a few episodes ago, about how I was experiencing it firsthand with my client about just the dissatisfaction of the quality of the work that was done, and then the effort you have to go to bring it up to an acceptable standard. When you're buying pre-sale, you typically, as a consumer, have it in your head that you think you're buying brand new, like you're buying a brand new car where everything is perfect. But it's not.
No.
And it does depend on the developer, one to the next. Some of them really do get it perfect out of the gates. You walk in the door and it is all done. And others, you really have a responsibility to go through and pick it apart on your walkthrough and try to get those repairs done.
Yeah, there's some smaller developers out there. I find I've done a few with Mosaic, and I'm looking for nail pop-outs, because you do a deficiency walkthrough before you actually take possession of the home.
Are you feeling because Mosaic is good and it's hard to find stuff?
They're good
I've
because
had good
they do their
Mosaic.
own deficiency walkthroughs. So when you're a buyer, and now the building's complete. So they're going to have you come through as a buyer, look for nail pop-outs, snags in the carpet, things aren't lined up, paint, gouge in the wall or whatever. And then you make a list. It's called a deficiency list. And then before you actually take possession of the home, they have to go in and fix all these little things. So I found,
some of them are better than others about it.
Oh, yeah, right?
Big
and then
time.
Sometimes,
who's your favorite local developer?
We're going to
put you on the spot. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, totally.
Wow. I will give you the option not to answer. You can throw that on me.
I'm saying favorite. I'm not saying worst.
I
wouldn't do that.
I don't have a favorite.
Who's one you really like? Doesn't have to be the absolute best.
Well, like I said, Mosaic. I was searching for things, but I think they do 2 or 3 deficiency walkthroughs before you even get in there. They make sure it's almost, they want it to be perfect.
And I love that standard.
Yeah.
Right? And I talked about that.
Was it a Mosaic one, the one you were talking about a couple episodes?
When I had that experience, it was with Polygon.
Right.
and I was really impressed. Same thing. I could not find a single thing.
I was looking.
Yeah.
I was looking hard, but nothing.
Yeah. So they were, but that was their expectation. Their standard was, we want you to come through and look, and you won't find anything.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's very different from consumers are looking at that one project to the next, and that's why I think it's valuable to have an agent you can soundboard things off of, right? To be like, well, what does it mean to be somebody who's a smaller developer who's inexperienced versus a bigger experienced one, or quality from this one to that one, versus, well, the sales center representative was so helpful and told me all the things that were going to go well. Why would I need a realtor?
Oh yeah, that's another thing. Some people don't think they can work with their realtor to buy a new development as a buyer. As a buyer, you can bring your realtor in to represent you and read the documents with you and kind of help walk you through it. I've heard a few times from buyers, oh, well, I don't want to bring my realtor in because the
think
sales...
you're going to get a better deal?
Yeah, well, or the salesperson, they think the salesperson's getting X amount of money, but if there's a realtor, then they have to share it. That's not the case, especially in... The salesperson gets paid X amount per home, and then there is an amount out there for realtor cooperation. So the developer already knows you're going to get maybe 60%, 70%, or whatever these homes are going to be represented with a buyer. They already work that into their budget that they will be paying realtor commissions. So that's another thing. You can work with your realtor, bring them into the sales center for you. They can walk you through it, answer your questions, read the docs with you, give you suggestions. Be very helpful. Do
you have any tips for buyers on negotiating with the developer? I
don't know if you can really negotiate anymore, right? Back when I was doing it, there wasn't a lot of negotiating. Maybe if it was a project and there was 2 or 3 homes left, developer just wants them sold so they can move on. Maybe at that point you can
That's
negotiate.
the only time I've had any luck on negotiating, like big negotiating.
And they never take anything off the price. They call it a decorating allowance.
Yeah.
So the advertised sale price shows the same as all of the others.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or they give you, I'm trying to remember which it was, but there was a development in New West which charged for locker, charged for parking.
Yes.
But you could negotiate that you didn't pay those. They wouldn't change the price at all, but you could probably get some stuff for free thrown in.
100%, yeah.
Yeah, if they have the stuff left over. My absolute top tip for negotiating, because like Courtney said, sometimes it's hard to negotiate right now. It's like buy it or don't. Yeah, this is the
Here's
contract.
the price.
Sign or don't. I've never told anyone this, so I can't believe I'm going to put it on the show.
Oh my gosh!
Because this is my big.
This is the move.
Why should you bring me with you when clients are talking to me like, I can do this myself.
Okay.
I don't need you to help negotiating. Why would I bring you through? So it's because I have one nugget, one thing that no one knows what to say.
Oh, but we will now.
And that is, it's not much, but it makes the biggest difference, especially when you're buying Ani, is you specify that I will get a full-size parking stall.
That is a fantastic tip. Yeah.
And all they have to do is write it in. They're like, oh, we don't really do that. And I'm like, it's fine. No one else is asking for it. You got 200 parking stalls. Just make sure mine doesn't suck.
Yeah,
like,
right beside the garbage, the small, and you have a truck.
And I'm not kidding. Every one of my clients who have written this in, they get one of the best ones. Because they're like, oh, we don't want to have an argument about this with the buyer that we've written it in. But I just say full size. I just don't want one like a small car spot.
Yeah.
Right.
That's all I'm trying to do is just not get an unobstructed, not small car spot. But you usually end up with a really good one.
Or there's a vent, right? Just hanging right above your spot.
Yeah, something like that, right? So you put that little caveat in, and you're one of 100. You're going to get a good one. But man, okay, this episode now, no one is allowed to listen. I'm sorry.
Gosh.
Okay, yeah, deleted.
It's probably not going to be good anyway.
Okay, well, we should probably wrap up. But Courtney, you're our guest. Why don't we? Do you have any last words? Anything you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, you brought a lot of notes.
Yeah.
Here's a hot tip.
Okay.
Well, no, I was talking about negotiating, and I think you and I had a discussion with it before, Jeff, is ask, if there's upgrades, crown molding, laminate in the kitchen or in the bedrooms instead of carpet, ask for those things.
Totally.
If you're buying a 1-bedroom and you're getting a storage locker, the small size, which by the way, you can maybe put a bike in it, ask for a larger storage locker. Just put it on there, ask,
yeah.
You never know, right? And I have had clients get these few little extras, which are quite nice. One thing to note is the reason why you should talk to a mortgage broker within your 7-day rescission period, although you're not getting your mortgage at that time, it's just good to talk to them, get some information, because I heard one story where someone wrote an offer, they're buying it, rescission period's over, within the 2 years it was being built, they went out and leased a vehicle. Well, that changes your credit score.
Yeah, the math is different now.
The math is now different. So just be aware of that, because it could be make or break of you purchasing it. And I don't know if mortgage brokers do this anymore. I don't know if you've had one on your show, but they used to be able to do a rate hold.
We had Stefan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Not Stefan.
Not we had Stefan. No, Stephanie Barrett came on episode
6.
Episode 6.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Episode 4 was Sleepless in New Westminster, when meeting your agent is like dating.
Oh.
Yeah, I came up with that cheesy title.
Awkward. Yeah, so where's my little notes? Yeah, get pre-approved first. Don't lease a car
don't
between.
Don't screw it up.
Yeah.
Don't lease a car is a great tip for anyone buying.
Well, you wouldn't even think of it, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes.
I think that's one of the number one ways people mess up their mortgage is taking on debt before it completes.
Yeah, they're like, well, I signed a contract. It's all committed. It's like, they're going to check you out again before it goes through.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else?
No, I think we've...
Cool. Well, that's awesome.
Everything.
That was great. I mean, we got into a lot of stuff there. I'm leaving a few things on the table, but maybe we'll... I mean, I know Jeremy's a little sad that he missed this episode, and he definitely has some
I know
thoughts to
he'll have
contribute.
stuff he wants to say if we ever let him back on the show.
I know. I think we need a vote.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh.
Okay. Sorry, but we're kind of on a team.
Which would help if you were here, because the whole show's premise was competing perspectives. And I'm ganged up on every episode.
Are you kidding me?
I feel like we agreed the whole time. Oh, that's a great point, Jeff. Oh, yeah, that's wonderful.
I just meant...
what do you think?
I meant when we came up with the show, we were 3 individual realtors.
Yeah.
And now it's 2 on... We've got a team and me.
Yes. Yeah. You're odd man out.
Which I don't actually believe, because I find like half the time... Jared takes my side just as much as he takes your side on stuff.
But that's why we're a good team.
Yeah.
Can't be same. So it's been a good show so far here. So we're going to move on to... We're going to do this in the right order, right, Jeff?
Question of the week.
Check out the big brain on Brad.
How's it working out for you? What? Being clever?
Who knows where thoughts come from? They just appear.
You're listening to Multiple Offers, a real estate show.
We're going to do this a little different. We were batting around questions of the week before we got started, and then Courtney jumped in with, I've got a question. So Matt and I have not heard this. So this question comes from us from Courtenay Edwardes from RE/MAX Advantage.
And maybe you have an answer. Okay, so I went on a listing presentation.
Thought you were going to say date.
Yeah, no.
Because I'm ready to answer.
No. And so it's a house in Coquitlam, smaller house, new horizons, 1 kitchen, whatnot. So I believe the square footage is probably around 1,700 square feet.
Are we just doing your market evaluation for you?
What do you think we should price the home at? No. So here's the question. I went through the home. Yes, fix that, do that, move that around, whatever. They're going to renovate before they sell. So here is the question. They do have the option to enclose the garage. The question is, should we enclose the garage and put a small kitchen in there? So
in the garage.
Yeah, but it won't be. It'll be enclosed and.
Okay. Oh, like make it part of the home.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Not and like just, okay.
Can I give my? Go ahead.
Sorry, and we'll just have a. Yeah, another 1-bedroom suite. Unauthorized.
Very unauthorized. So I'll give my sassy answer first, which is tell your client to go back and listen to the last episode of Multiple Offers where we discussed renovations.
Yeah.
Sassy.
I had a house that got sold it's probably about 5 years ago in New West, where they did almost exactly what you're describing. Mm-hmm. And they bought it. Now, we bought it knowing that this couldn't possibly be authorized. But you know who looks at the MLS other than realtors and buyers?
The city.
The city. And when we moved in, sure enough, somebody showed up to inspect, and they had to... Now, we knew. We're like, there's a good chance this all has to get taken down. But I think doing something like that right before you put it on the market, there's a high probability the city notices. I'd be nervous about it, personally.
I'm pretty adverse, like if they're really thinking of getting it on the market, to spending that kind of money for something big.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a risk and a reward type thing, right? Big risk, potentially big reward. My line of thinking is more to sell the dream.
Yeah.
The potential.
Yeah.
Right? You say, if you're looking for something here, There's you just frame this in and do that and make it sound really easy, even though it's not, because when we're on that side, we make it sound really easy.
Matt talked about this last episode as well. Matt's really about he said you crush people's dreams. Matt builds dreams to be crushed.
But genuinely, I think it's too big of a project to take on. And to do it in an unauthorized way too, because when the market is going down, when it's soft, buyers are so much more picky about work being done with permits and all the rest of it, because they're thinking long-term, big picture. What's going to go wrong? This is going to be worthless in 5 years because it's not authorized. When the market's hot, they're like, I don't care.
Why is this garage so, like, why is this a scenario? What makes this make sense?
Oh, because in the area, there are a lot of homes that, 2,500 square feet. They have a mortgage helper. It just differentiates his from theirs, right? So it was just a question. It was the last question. My gut feel is don't do it because somebody might not want it. And then to your point,
Did you tell him, hang on, I'm going on a real estate podcast and I'll get back to you?
Yeah, I feel like they're going to have a question segment. And here's my opportunity to put it on to other realtors other than myself. But you know what? He's already going to put money into the kitchen and this and that to make it look really nice, which I do think is a great idea because
he's got a bunch of other work to do too.
Yeah, so
don't bother.
I know.
Yeah, that's my thoughts.
Okay,
cool, good question.
Cool.
Yeah.
And I think it's my favorite part of that question is that it relates to the market now when it's a little bit low and not having permits and that kind of stuff. I think that is an important consideration for anybody out there in the marketplace, is that buyers get so much more picky when the market is
when they have
softer.
selection, they can be more picky, right? Yeah,
fair enough.
Sure.
It's story time with Jer.
Great story. Compelling and rich.
It's not always my story?
No, it's not always your story. What if Matt has an awesome story to tell?
Well, he can tell it to me or write it down and I will paraphrase.
This is Multiple Offers, a real estate show.
All right, Courtney, so you're wearing the Jer hat today.
Okay.
So we're going to make you tell a story.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Surprise! So what I thought is that we'd just ask you. So you were in new development. Now, were you a realtor at that point? You were, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess that it's a two-part question.
Okay.
What is the origin story of Courtenay Edwardes as far as real estate goes? First in getting into new development and then making the shift, like deciding that no, you wanted to work in residential sales.
Weren't you like with K-Dub before?
Yeah.
You were? Yeah.
I was actually...
Courtenay Edwardes in the Blue Pathfinder was with her Keller Williams before going
Matt's
into
memory of car
development.
stuff is really weird.
She had her name on it. And it was
I did.
Do you remember her license plate?
No, because it had her name on it. I didn't need to know the license plate. And she was in Glenbrook all the time, so I saw it all the time, like driving the kids around.
Okay, well...
what's funny about having my number on it, I actually got a complaint once. The receptionist at Keller Williams called me because somebody complained about something I did on the road, which is...
that's my fear.
Which is hilarious. I'm like, okay, thanks.
Okay, so what's the beginning of your real estate story?
So I did not start in new developments, but I did start with a Blue Pathfinder. This is what happened.
We talk a lot about cars on this show.
I was working at ICBC. I was working at ICBC, and then I got pregnant. I won't go into detail. I'm sure you know how that works. And then
please explain it.
And then I looked around and I thought to myself, these people don't seem very happy here. You know, their workload is a lot. They're kind of cynical. I just, at that moment, I thought I don't want to come back here after mat leave, for sure. So, and we also had a realtor friend, and I thought it was interesting. I liked the industry. I liked houses. I liked flexibility. I was just drawn to it. So I just went ahead, got my license, and became a residential realtor with Keller Williams in Port Coquitlam. And then a few years in, to be quite honest, I didn't really enjoy it very much. I just didn't feel... I don't know what it was. And then I thought...
Was it a struggle? Or was it just the work itself you didn't enjoy?
Yeah, I just thought, okay, well, maybe I'm in the right industry, but I need to be doing something else here. So then I got into new developments, which is great. And I'm so, so, so glad I did that because I gained a lot of knowledge and I was on the inside. And I think I'm really, really happy I did that. And then our office moved from New Westminster to Vancouver, and I didn't want to do the commute anymore. I did 3 sales centers, and then I got hired internally into the marketing department. Mm-hmm. And then for about a year, I was commuting quite a bit. And then I literally had an epiphany driving to work one day. On the epiphany, if you look at the calendar, I was driving after the winter break, and I just thought, I'm going to quit my job. And I still have my real estate license. And that's literally how it happened. I had a moment of clarity. I walked in, I quit my job, and then I thought... Do
you remember what it was about the job that made you want to quit?
I felt a change. I felt, honestly, the commute. I hate driving in traffic. And so I would be driving from New West to Coquitlam to Kitsilano to Coquitlam to, sometimes my commute was 2.5 to 3 hours, whereas my office used to be in New Westminster. So it was great. So I must say that was actually one of the big reasons. And then I thought, well, I still have my real estate license. I'll just jump back into residential. And then I quit. And I thought, I better get back to work. And then I called my friend Shannon Kelly. I said, hey, I'm getting back into residential. I literally just quit my job 5 minutes ago. I was like, can we partner up? I was like, what have I done?
Did Shannon shoot you down? I don't remember you guys ever teaming up.
Exactly. I feel like she kind of did. She was a good friend, but she said, come back to Keller in Poco. And so I did. So I went back to Keller Williams in Poco, but it still didn't quite feel right. And I knew I wanted to focus on New Westminster, and Remax in New West has
all the best people.
It really, truly does. And then I was talking to Mel one day, and I just came over. And the past 3 years, it's been my favorite. I love my job. I really love my job. And maybe because I love my clients, or maybe you can be more selective, or I'm just more knowledgeable. I don't know what it is, but I'm really enjoying my job now. So I'm not looking for an out. It's quite nice.
It's interesting that you didn't enjoy it round one.
I know.
And then kind of did something different, and now seem to really love it.
Yeah, I do. I know. I'm surprised.
Yeah. I feel like maybe it's something about a comfort with yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Like just being able to feel comfortable just being yourself, because you really are, like in the business and with your clients. Mm-hmm. I think more so than most people in the business.
Well, and I'm not a heartbreaker anymore, okay? I'm actually quite honest with my clients, and it's honesty, and I almost feel like I'm a bit of a boutique, realtor, where I don't have 200 clients that I can't manage. I feel quality clients. Mm-hmm. I'm always available, but probably not past 9 p.m. because I'm sleeping as well. And so you always get me. I don't have an assistant. I don't have a buyer's agent. It's me. So if you hire me, you get me every single time. And I just have a manageable amount of clients. And so I find that enjoyable. Yeah. So that's my story. ICBC, pregnant, didn't want to go back, became a realtor.
Tell me more about the heartbreaking.
Well, Matt brought that up.
Yeah.
Oh, just, you have a new development, and there's 100 homes and 400 people want it. So 300 people are going to be upset. But that also happens in residential. When the market was hot, you have a listing, you get 10 offers, one person wins, and then you literally have to call 9 people and break up with them. And I started texting and emailing after that, because I'm like, I'm so sorry your client didn't get it.
Have you ever told Matt your amazing multiple offer bribery story?
I have no... Oh, the purse?
Yeah.
Oh, I was offered a really nice purse. Yeah, I had actually...
As the listing agent?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, they were sending her pictures.
Yeah, pictures, yeah.
Like, wow. If you pick us, Gucci.
Yeah.
I don't remember the brand, but I remember...
It was high end.
I remember when that was happening. I think you were in the lounge, and I was sitting there, and you're like,
That's a neat inducement.
Yeah, it was right when the market started taking off, and I had a house listed in Burnaby, and I believe we had about 17 offers. It was crazy. And so a handful of people, can you represent me? Can you represent me? And we could at the time, but I didn't want to, because I know the only reason they were coming to me as a listing agent, because they thought I could help them get the house. So I just deferred everybody, and surprise, surprise, they all had realtors. Shocking. But I did have a realtor who kept bribing me. His clients really wanted it, and he was sending me pictures. I think it was like Louis Vuitton. I don't even know. The funny thing is, I don't really care about clothes or material items. So
he's like, you're a girl.
Yeah.
You like expensive purses.
Exactly.
And then he probably just pissed you off, right? You're like, don't you put me in that box.
Well,
stereotyping me.
I would be mad if somebody tried to bribe me during. I've never had somebody do that in a multiple offer, but I'd be really upset about it because you're putting me in a very bad position. Like, what if you have the best offer and now we're picking it and all of a sudden I'm like, there's this weird bribe and I need to make sure I don't take it and I need to make sure my sellers know about it and I better tell my manager and I hate this. Like, sounds horrible.
I didn't even think about that. I just sort of laughed it off, shrugged it off, beat it. I don't want your purse. And I kind of like my job. I don't really want to get fired over a purse that I don't really want. So he did not, his clients didn't get the home, and probably just because he didn't have the best offer. So
yeah.
Well, thanks for adding that to story time.
Well, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Strong segment.
Well, thank you very much for joining us today, filling in for Jer. I think that's probably going to wrap things up for the episode. Now, Courtney, I don't know this, but if people want to find you, what's your website? Trick question. It's okay. I got my website wrong a couple episodes ago.
It's my name.
www.CourtenayEdwardes.
Let her say it herself.
Should I spell it out?
Well, start by saying it.
Do we need the W's? Do people know to put the W's?
Yeah, Mom. You don't need to type the W's anymore.
CourtenayEdwardes.com. However, my parents decided to spell it with lots of letters in it. Shall I go ahead?
Go for it.
All right. Courtenay.
Like the town.
Like the town.
Courtenay.
EDWARDES.
Now, if you listen to Courtney spell it, you don't need to worry about that. Matt will put it in the show notes.
.com.
Awesome.
Latina Miss Edwards. Yeah. Senora Edwardes.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, really happy to have you on. I really appreciate you filling Jeremy's seat there this week. It's been an awesome episode.
Yeah,
and if people want to get a hold of Matt and Jer, they can find you guys at thenewwestguys.com. Did I get it right this time?
Yeah.
Excellent. And
you should probably want to put www in front of that just to make sure you land on their page.
Thanks, Courtney. Yeah. Matt's the fact checker on the show. Stop stepping on his on his job. And I'm at realestatenewwest.com. That's going to do it. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. It helps us find more listeners. And if you want to make sure you get our next episode, please subscribe to the show. So, Courtney, you have a son.
Yes.
Cole is how old?
11.
11? Okay. So you might know about this stuff. My buddy Steve, who works for the Aquilini Group, he's a property manager, called me yesterday and was like, there are people in helmets and battle axes all over Rogers Arena. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Only because my client is working at it right now.
Okay. There is like a Rogers Arena filled video game event.
It's the World Series Super Bowl of esports gaming. It's like a week-long experience.
Yeah. And I had no idea that this, like, I knew that, like, especially in Korea, that video games as sports were really popular. Like, when we were probably just after high school age, StarCraft, I know, was huge. Like, people would watch StarCraft in Korea the way we would watch football. But I didn't know it happened here. And that there's like a stadium full of people watching video games. Right now. Yeah, it is happening.
They're watching a screen.
It goes all week. Well, I think the people are there competing.
Yes, they are live on the floor. There's two teams in their little cubicles.
Yeah.
Or like super cool, like dome structure or whatever.
Yeah.
But the game they're playing is being just put up, streamed right onto the screens throughout the stadium, and all of the fans there watching are just watching in real time and cheering results and kills and all the rest of this stuff.
Yeah, and so Steve, because he works for the Aquilinis, has tickets.
Yeah.
And I was so choked because he's like, do you want to go? And I'm like, well, I got a really busy day tomorrow, but I've got like 1 hour. I could totally do it. And then I got 2 showing requests during the hour, and I had to call Steve and be like, I'm sorry, I can't go. I really wanted to see it. Like, I just wanted to see what it looked like and what it felt like to be at one of these events.
They're talking about it on all the sports shows right now.
Are they really?
What?
Yeah, like, should we call this a sport? Because they're calling it esports, right? So they're getting into all of the debate. I mean, it's the middle of August in the sports world. They're looking for anything
right, they need stuff to talk about. Yeah.
So they're like, fine, we'll do it. Now, the reason why, like, it's in Vancouver, but it's not because it's a Vancouver thing. This is the international thing. It's like like every year they do it somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, I went online and looked, and there are people from all over the world tweeting like, oh, I'm on my way to Vancouver to compete in this thing. And like, I think it's a pretty big deal, actually.
It's the top 16 teams in the world as far as they're concerned with
way
esports.
more about this than I thought.
I've been listening to talk radio. I'm driving around the last 2 days. Because I was curious. My client said she's going there, and she's like, do you know what this thing is? I said, I have no idea what this is. She told me about this on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
But they've been going on about it in the news, in the sports news. So top 16 teams in the world, $28 million prize pool.
Really?
$10 million to the first team.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So these guys are sponsored. They've got owners behind them who like own the franchise and choose their players and decide.
Just like a regular sports team.
Yeah, like who's good. I'll pay you to be on my team so that you win, because I'll pay you, $200,000 for this tournament or $100,000. But if we win, I'm taking the $5 million that's left over out of the prize pool.
Yeah,
that kind of stuff. They've got owners behind this stuff. It's massive.
Are
it's
people betting?
massive.
Are they placing bets?
I'm sure, just like any
There's
other
gotta be
sport, there
betting
must
pools.
be.
Yeah.
Well, and so through hearing about this, I went down a rabbit hole last night because I thought I was going to this thing. So I was like, I better figure out at least know a little bit about this game. So I watched like an intro video, and it's really complicated, the game that they're playing. But then I went totally down this other rabbit hole of like video game streamers, and this was why I was asking about Cole. Like, does Cole watch people play video games?
It is.
Yeah.
That's all I know about what you're talking about right now.
Yeah.
Is that Cole watches
Is he into Fortnite?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one I found out about. That like I guess the top video game streamer for this game, Fortnite, is a guy who calls himself Ninja. But I mean, he's so legitimate. Like, Drake has come on his show and played video games with him, and that's like broken all the YouTube records and it's
so how frequently,
it's a big industry.
How frequently
so he
is Cole
watches
watching?
This is something that like Asher might be doing in a couple of years.
Yeah, and I've talked to other parents with kids, and so he plays Fortnite.
Yeah,
absolutely loves it.
Yeah,
I'm at a friend's house with him. He has a friend, Jesse, my friend Steph, hanging out. Cole wants to leave. Why? Because he wants to play Fortnite, and you can't play 2 people in one place. He literally
it's not like when we were kids, because that was the best, split screen.
No, we ended up leaving.
So he could play with the kid who was there?
Exactly.
That's amazing.
Isn't that crazy? And then another thing, yes, he watches YouTube videos of other people playing games. I'm like, why are you watching other people playing video games? It's insane. And my kid is not the only kid.
No, I think it's huge.
It's a thing.
Super normal. Super normal.
Yeah.
And even before that, before you watch kids play video games, my kids watch kids, like when they choose something on YouTube Kids, is to watch other kids play with toys.
Yeah.
Like the same toys they have.
Yeah, we shut that down, but Asher was super into that when he was little, and we're like, he wanted, like, the most popular was watching kids open up things.
Yeah. Ooh,
that was really popular, and we're like, you have these things, you could just go play with them.
It creates a real problem with collection and acquiring, because they don't actually care about the toy, they care about the experience of opening and looking at it, comparing it to the next one. Now I need more.
Oh, like humans, like adults.
Yeah,
like adults, I need more.
Yeah,
Everyone
so it's an amazing model around this stuff. It's crazy what our kids, the way they're consuming this stuff, but it's common. Whatever your kid's doing is normal.
Yeah,
and I mean, I guess if I sit back and I think about it, watching people play video games, like play a game on Xbox or whatever, I don't think the pros are playing on Xbox. I think they're playing on their souped up PCs. But it's really not that different than watching people play hockey. Like, you're watching people play a game who are really good at this thing. Like, and what I'm actually saying is that if we stop and think about it, watching people play sports is a little bit weird when you really think about, like, the same thing, right? Like, we are watching somebody else play a game. Why aren't you playing that game? Like,
yeah, and it's for the anticipation, the wonder of what's going to happen next. The unexpected happens that you're like, how you couldn't even write this in a story.
Yeah, it's not like a TV show where the good guy's going to win.
The outcome is unpredictable, and sometimes it goes in incredible directions. That's the thing about sports, that sometimes you leave and it's been a really boring game, but other times like the comeback is amazing.
Yeah.
And I could see the same happening in this video game world, at least if you understand the game.
And well, I think understanding must be a part of it, because part of sports is I'm watching an athlete do something that even though I know how to play hockey, I could never do this thing.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess the same thing must apply.
Well, what I've heard about these guys, these top-end gamers, like world-class gamers, is they're making 300 button pushes per minute.
Oh, well, that was a big thing.
It's something I could be misquoting that, but it's something that as like us, we couldn't replicate just button mashing, let alone doing it in the right sequence and reacting to the screen.
Yeah. I actually know this term. APM, actions per minute, is, and I don't know if every game is into that, but I think the game I was looking at last night was Dota.
Yeah,
and it kind of came out of StarCraft, and both of those games, that is a metric that they're looking at for their competitors, is how fast are they, how can they think and also process at the same time.
Yeah, so it's a physical, mental execution that most of us in the world can't do. So it's an exceptional feat.
Yeah,
I wonder if they get blisters. That's the only thing. That's my contribution about this video game talk.